The most reliable person in your life right now is probably, and you don't even realise it, the most anxious person that you know. They're the one that never drops the ball. They're always 3 steps ahead. They always anticipate everybody else's needs before even anybody thought about what it was that they were even needing in the first place. You look at them and you think, wow, they've got their shit together. But in fact, they're like a wee duck, right, swimming on the dam. On the outside, they look calm, collected, put together. Underneath, those wee feet are going like the clappers. But you only see the up part of it. You only see the part that's above surface, don't you? The part that makes you think, oh, look at that graceful, beautiful thing. And here it is, I'm just about to pull back the veil. It's anxiety, but it's wearing a very good disguise. You haven't even recognised it, but now you might be able to take a closer look and see the people that have got all their stuff together in your life. See the person that is anticipating everybody's needs, that's always 3 steps ahead, that just looks as if they've got everything together. You might actually take a wee look back, pan the camera back even further and see that in fact, it might be their anxiety that's driving all of this. And here's the thing that I would love for you to understand about anxiety. And anxiety doesn't always have to look like panic attacks. It doesn't always have to look like shutting down. It doesn't have to look like somebody's got the heart palpies and they're racing or can't speak. Sometimes anxiety looks like control. I've said this on the channel before, go back to the ancestors, go back to those paleolithical kind of beings that were roaming the earth. They were looking out for lions and tigers and bears, oh my, right? And that's where their anxiety came from. But still within the cells of our being, within that cell memory, we don't understand the difference between a looming deadline and, lions and tigers and bears, oh my. Your mind just knows one thing though, don't get it wrong. So you spin all the plates, you prepare, you please, you perform. And because it works, it becomes invisible. You don't even notice it. And because it works, it becomes such a good strategy, such a good technique, that you don't even realise it either. And this means that you don't even question it. I call this the high functioning anxiety loop. Or even better, the Rory Gilmore. If you're a fan of the Gilmore Girls, like me, you know that it probably hasn't aged very well. Rory Gilmore was somebody who was a character who had it all together, she was an astute learner, she was fantastic at everything, she spun all the plates, she juggled all the balls, she managed to keep it all together. She was such a high achiever that in fact she was just this version of perfection. And anybody looking in would think, oh my goodness, that's just so unattainable. How would they ever be able to reach that? And I think as well for sort of young women in the kind of early noughties watching this would have watched it and thought, how can I not do that as well? How can I not be X, Y and Z and perform at the same level as somebody like Rory Gilmore? And once you spot it, you'll see it absolutely everywhere. Worry shows up, you'll overcompensate, you'll over-prepare, you'll start to people please. You'll see it, you might even feel it just listening to me doing this just now. I know that I feel it because I can remember being in high school and I was the head girl of my high school and there was a lot of pressure attached to that. There was a lot of things that teachers expected of you that also your peers expected and the younger student body looked up to you as well. I was 17 years old and having all of this pressure to perform and to be able to behave in a way that made me look like a mentor, that made me look like somebody who had their together. It was exhausting because along with the head girl role came other roles with that attached to that as well. But on top of that came sitting on the student parent committees, the school yearbook stuff, the having to show up to all the assemblies, the having to speak to people, the having to be there, be everything and be it all and still smile and get your homework done and hang about with your friends and listening to the new music that was coming out and just being a 17-year-old girl, I guess. But the overcompensation, it got praised. Teachers thought, oh my goodness, that's really good. Well done. And I can even remember my brother, he went into high school the year after I left, and teachers would always ask, how's Michelle doing? And my brother says it now, oh my goodness, I wish I never told anybody you were my big sister. And the overcompensation that went on within that kind of, especially that last year of high school, meant that yes, I was trying to spin all the plates, but I was so burnt out by the end of the year that I was quite glad to leave high school while some of my peers were crying and quite upset. And it looked like competence to most. It looked like, you know, that you were able to do this, but it was exhausting too. But what this does is that praise that the adults looking in and the expectations on you to perform became so big that actually this followed me through into my working career as well, and it meant that in the working career that I was trying to be an exceptional member of staff, which I am, naturally. But what it done was it quietly told my nervous system, this worked, do it again, always say yes, never say no, always make sure that you can be available for something, you know. And I can remember my mum just a short while ago when I was doing a project say to me, why is it that you sign yourself up for all these things? And I wasn't sure at the time why. Part of me thinks it was because that old system's still running in there that says be everything to everyone at all times, yada yada, but also because some of the projects that I do take part in I really do enjoy as well. It's not all bad. But what happens is this loop tightens, right? And it begins to become a personality trait. It even can begin to become something that you see and your friends see as well, and family members too, as your identity. Ask this person, they'll know, or they won't say no because they're so good at doing this thing. I even heard my husband say recently, why don't you make the phone call? You're good on the phone. And not because he was trying to manipulate me into doing the phone call, but because that level of sort of competency, or that level of, right, okay, I can get this done and I know what I'm doing here, meant that I would just crack on and do it. But more so, it's become a strategy that's worked so well in the past that actually it's second nature now. And if this sounds like you might recognise it because you'll say yes before you've even had the chance to consider. You might even hear people say that you're easygoing. But it's not easygoing, is it? That's just a strategy that you learned a long time ago, because saying no has too high a price tag on it, doesn't it? Saying no might question your worthiness, and you know, if you've been on this channel for a while now, you'll know that absolutely nothing determines your worthiness other than you. So because subconsciously you've been rehearsing this same strategy for years and years and years, what will happen is, like I said, it's second nature to you, isn't it? It's just who you are. And here's the cruel part, see, because it works, and because you managed to get it all done, and because you managed to also do a good job, nobody ever questions it. And you don't question it either, do you? Almost nobody's born with anxiety about being perfect. Not even you. So somewhere at school, in a family, in a group, in peer friendships, in relationships, you learned that being exceptional kept you safe, or it kept you loved, or it kept you out of trouble. And when you learn a strategy that clever and that young, it doesn't switch off just because you've reached an age, you know, you didn't get to age, whatever age it is you are just now, and it goes, all right, okay, so that old pattern's going to be deleted, now it's out of date. No, the pattern runs until you see it, until you interrupt it, until you decide it's time to change it. And this is a distinction that I want to leave you with today. You know, just because you're coping and it looks like calm, it doesn't mean you're coping at all. You can cope brilliantly, and clearly you do. But underneath it all, you can still be quietly exhausted. You can still be absolutely washed out. I'm fine and I'm coping. They're not the same sentence. They might sound similar, but they're quite different, aren't they? But if you are really struggling with it, then please talk to someone, reach out to a professional, have a chat about it, because this can feel so overwhelming, and it might just sound so familiar to you that you've not actually noticed it until now. Aye, that's exhausting, isn't it? And it can feel like you're burning out, and it can also feel like you might feel a wee bit taken for granted as well. Please talk to somebody about it. Reach out to me even if you feel like you'd like to have a chat about it. We can have a talk and And there's some really good techniques that I know of from the world of coaching that I'm from that will be able to help you uncover those and to be able to move into a space that makes you feel as if, yes, in fact, you are important too, that you don't have to be anticipating everyone else's needs, that a pattern that ran a long time ago that kept you safe, that meant that you were accepted and that you didn't feel rejected, doesn't have to run the same way anymore at all, does it? It doesn't have to keep on continuously going in that roary loop. It can stop now. It can say there's time for a new loop to start. And here's what I need you to hear from me, all right? This strategy that you've been running isn't wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. It once kept you safe, but now it's time to leave because it's overstayed its welcome. See you later. The same intelligence, that same strategy that got you through those tough times doesn't have to keep on going, like I said, in that loop. You're not broken, but you might just be sitting there bracing and waiting for the version of the world that you're not currently standing in anymore, that you don't have to react the same way to. And firstly, I want you to start naming it in the moment. Anxiety's here. I might have told you in the past that I call my anxiety Alice, all right? And whenever I notice myself being overly anxious, I will go, oh, Alice, it's yourself. But before that, I'm already noticing that I'm feeling a bit jangly, I'm feeling a bit stressed, I'm feeling a bit anxious and apprehensive, all right? But when I can tune in and I notice it, I'll name it and go, oh, Alice is here. And when we name it and when we give it a name, like a personalised name, then what happens is it just sort of softens the edges right away because you've got an identity to it, don't you? Because when you feel the pull to overplease, to overcompensate, to overprepare, to say yes when really you should take a moment to consider whether or not you've got room for whatever it is somebody's wanting you to do, just naming it, oh, hello Alice, can suddenly lose its grip on you. And you might feel brave enough, right, to practice putting something out there that's not 100%. What will that mean? Oh no. Don't reread the WhatsApp message reply. Don't reread the email that you're sending. Send it out as it is. There might be a typo, there might be a spelling mistake. Guess what? The world isn't going to end. And here's something that I'm learning. Let somebody else take the leading role. If there's something going on, say there's a family event planned, all right, and you're the event planner, you're part of the party planning committee, let somebody else take that leading role. Trust me, it's going to feel jangly, all right? It's going to feel a little bit rougher on the edges and you're going to want to step in at every single step of the way, but let somebody else take it. Let somebody else have the opportunity to do that too. You don't have to go in and be the one at the front. You can let somebody else lead. You can take direction. You can know what it would be like actually if you were just to follow. You don't have to be the person that says, let's make this absolutely perfect, because what you'll find is that giving other people the opportunity to also shine will mean as well that you get to experience that too. And I don't mean to sound like a condescending bampot here, right? But if you have been somebody who's at the front leading the way, saying this is how we're doing it, and having the party planning committee all there, being the one to stand with a clipboard, I don't really do that, but and sort of delegating everyone around, when you let somebody else step into that role, it's brilliant because you get to take a breather, you get to take direction, and you get to say, right, okay, and you won't be as harsh as them as you are on yourself, I guarantee it. I know it. Most importantly, everybody, be gentle with yourself, all right? You're a work in progress. And I am too.